Hello, everybody. Welcome back in. Full crew is here to finish off the year. I'm Alek. That's Matt Morrison and Mike Wolfgang over there. Mike, haven't seen you in a while. How was Christmas, bud?
It was good, man. It was, just hanging out, friends and family. That's what it's all about. It was fun.
Wonderful. Well, we got lots of sports to get into, so let's waste no time. Let's start this out. College basketball style, our top 10 here on the show. We got a lot to go through, so at number 10, let's get this show started. Number 10, Alabama, the Crimson Tide, coming off a loss last week to Davidson. But, Mike, you kept them up in your top 10. What was the reasoning for that? Is both Matt and I tossed them out of there pretty quickly.
Wait, hold on 1 second. I was looking at some of the rankings. But I kept them in because they're kind of falling on some hard times, but I still think, they dropped 9 spots in the rankings. They're 9-3. There's definitely teams playing better than them, but I kept them around there because I still think they're one of the top teams. There's teams playing better than them right now, but I still think they're one of the top teams. So that's kind of why I kept them around that. You could make an argument keeping them around 10, 11, 12, or anywhere around there, but I kept them at 10.
Okay. Well, Mike, your rankings actually had them at 6.
6, but yeah, our rankings, yeah. But yeah, I kept them up there, but our rankings, yeah, they definitely are a top 10 team.
All right. Well, number 9 on our list. We'll see if Bama can make the jump next week. Well, through this next week. But at number 9, USC, the Trojans. I had them at 8. Matt, you had them at 8. Mike, you had them at 9. This team is playing phenomenal, and they're actually one of the most balanced teams in college basketball this year. When you look at offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency, which is two of the best ways to actually look at teams in college basketball, you see that USC is really one of the only teams that has found a near perfect balance right in between those two. And they're not too strong offensively or too strong defensively, and one of those sides is given up because of it. This team is very well balanced. They have pretty much everything you could ask for. And I know, Matt, you've been really high on the other Mobley brother. This team is a really solid team. They're a big squad to watch out for March.
Oh, absolutely they are, man. They're 12-0, and honestly, I wanted to put them up higher, but, there's other teams up there that have better wins than they do. But, man, watch out for them. They could be a potential top 5 team here before this tournament starts here. And we're getting closer. We're now into January, so we're close to January. So just January, February, March. We got 3 months. 3 months away. So this is where it gets interesting, okay? You got to start paying attention around this spot. And USC is a team to pay attention to.
Mike?
Yeah, they definitely are. And, the last 2 games, they haven't played since the 18th. So they've missed 2 games. They're still finding a way to be in the top. And it's 7 in the top 10. And, Matt, I know you keep talking about Mobley's brother, and they're 12-0. And that to me, is a big reason why, they're a well-coached team, number one. They always have. They were last year, and they have been for the last few years. So that's definitely deserving of why they are where they're at. And Alek, we talked about the last time we went through these rankings last week, how strong the Pac-12 is kind of getting. Because it really hasn't been that great the last few years. It's starting to get stronger this year. So if they can, I know we talked about them last week with continuing that when they get into Pac-12 play, and it's coming up with, I think they have a game on the 2nd, or that one's postponed. So they have one coming up on the 6th with Cal.
On the 6th, yeah.
Yeah, so they can keep that going, Matt. I buy into this USC team going into the tournament.
Yeah, this is definitely a huge squad, and as everyone's talking about now, Isaiah Mobley, 15 points per game, 9.6 rebounds. The guy's a freak of nature, just like his older brother. This guy is going to be a special talent. He continues to develop. I think he's definitely got a bright future, and I think his brother is probably a big reason because that with the instant burst that you've seen Evan Mobley contribute to in the league, everyone's going to be looking at Isaiah because they feel very similar in their build and their style of play. And this Mobley kid, he's going to be a special talent coming out this year, and I definitely like this squad as well. Number 8, Iowa State. This is one of my highest teams up on the list. I have them at number 3 in my rankings. You guys have them at 9 and 10, so I guess it's my turn to defend a team. We've talked about the Big 12 and how strong we believe this team has. This conference has been all season. And you look at Iowa State, and this is the team that is out in front of that conference. They are undefeated right now. They have the number 2 strength of resume in the nation. They have dominated pretty much everybody. You can't really find many games that they have been close in. Even their top 25 matchups against Xavier, dozen-point win. Then against Memphis, they win that by 19 points. They dominated Creighton. They destroyed Iowa. This team, despite the fact in the last few weeks they haven't played anybody, on New Year's Day, they got number 1 Baylor to kick off their Big 12 schedule. This team is undefeated and is getting severely disrespected because really they have pretty much the same strength of schedule as Baylor does this entire season. Similar in the stats department, similar in the wins, and yet this team hasn't been getting much respect on our rankings and around the nation. I really like this Iowa State team. They are a very talented squad. They can score the ball, and they have phenomenal defense, and that's huge. I really want to see this team continue to push. And right now, if they beat Baylor in the next few days and start off the new year with a win over Baylor, Iowa State's my number 1 team.
Yeah, Alek, that matchup with number 1 Baylor, that's going to be a big one. On January 1st, then they got Texas Tech after that, Oklahoma, and then Kansas, Texas, and Texas Tech again. That's a killer schedule coming up. And if they get through that, man, you better open your eyes.
They're number 1 if they can get through that.
I agree.
So, yeah, they're definitely – look at this Big 12, number 1. We not just talked about the Pac-12. Look at the Big 12. I just told you all these teams that they have coming up. Number 1 Baylor, 25 Texas Tech, 6 Kansas, 17 Texas, and 25 Texas Tech again. That's brutal. I mean, like I just said, if they can get through that, they're wake up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, number 7, sticking in the Big 12, Kansas. The Kansas Jayhawks off to a good start to their season as well. And, I mean, we're always talking about Kansas every single year when you talk March Madness. This is always a team. They're blue blood. And this team, 9-1. There were some question marks after that Dayton loss, but they've seemingly turned it around. They've had a pretty easy schedule, though, so I'm really waiting for them to get in against some of these more difficult teams. Oklahoma State should be an easy game for them, as easy as in-conference play can be. But Texas Tech and Iowa State coming up on the schedule, I'm interested how those matchups turn out. And also, West Virginia, don't count them out. They are unranked, but 11-1 right now. That's probably the most dangerous team on their schedule if they can get past Iowa State here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about them, yesterday, but they're 11-1. They're not ranked. I think games like these, if they win games like these, they'll be ranked, very quickly. So you got to keep out for teams like that, going on down the line. Just because they're not ranked, you got to look at that record, and 11-1 is good. I don't care who you play. If you go 11-1, that's pretty good. So.
Right, and I mean, everyone wants to, say, oh, well, it's against, non-ranked teams. Look what Davidson did to Alabama. They hadn't had a ranked win on their schedule. They came in with the same record as Bama, and they won. Yeah, it was a 1-point game, but that's just showing that record does matter. If you see a team that is 9-2 or 11-1 or 10 whatever, that is a good, solid team through the start of the season. And you cannot take them for granted, especially playing in conference, because they probably have a similar out of conference schedule that you did, and they probably have a better record than you. You have to watch out for those teams. So definitely a squad to look out for as we continue our way through the season. I mean, being led offensively by Okai Agbaji, this guy, 22 points per game, shooting 56% from the field and 48% from 3. This guy is going to be a special talent in this year's draft. I mean, he's a senior guard. I mean, 6'5" guard. You can't ask for anything better than that, especially when he's averaging 20-plus points. You don't get 20-plus out of a lot of guys here in college.
No, you don't. And so, the ones that do, you got to keep an eye on. And this guy, keep an eye on this guy. Like you said, I expect him to be a top pick in this draft. And, potentially lead this team to, a deep appearance in the March Madness. This team relies on this guy right here. So keep an eye on.
Yeah, and he's a guy that, Mac, you can add to. You talked about being a top pick in the draft. He's a guy you could add to of this being kind of a good draft, a solid draft, kind of similar to last year with, him coming out and Mobley coming out and some of these other guys coming out. So it could be another strong draft for some of these teams in the NBA that are not, trying to get a young star to build themselves around. So, and he's definitely a guy that can do that. And he's a reason why Kansas is where they're at.
Christian Braun on this team is also a huge contributor. I mean, 6.7 rebounds per game. This guy he's averaging about 16.8 points per game. That's all in the paint, just putting it back up. That guy, that guy's a huge contributor as well, and he can steal a ball too. 1.4 steals per game. He can dish it out too. So watch out for that guy.
Yeah, coming in at number 6 now, Gonzaga. They're still ranked number 2, actually, in ESPN's BPI ranking, but 21st strength of resume and 86th strength of schedule. So at the moment, Gonzaga seems to be a shoo-in to win out the rest of the season, but we've already seen them slip up a few times. That's what worries me with this squad. That's why I have them sitting at 7th. They don't feel complete. I mean, yes, they're getting the same Timmy as last year, and Chet Holmgren is shooting 61%. That's great. But I just don't feel like this team has everything figured out. They've had a good strength of schedule so far. When you look, win over a good Texas team that we all like, UCLA, Duke. They have that loss against Duke, in Alabama, and they have a win against Texas Tech. So they have good wins on their schedule so far. But those losses concern me against Duke and Alabama. Alabama should have been a game they won. Instead, it's nearly a 10-point loss for that one, which this definitely doesn't feel right. Duke, the 3-point loss, give or take it to this team, to me, is a one-loss team, basically, because of what they've done outside of those 2 games. I'll forgive one of those losses, but I can't forgive the Alabama one. And when you look at their strength of schedule coming up, there is none. So I'm worried about what this team will do in conference play in the WCC, because we talk about how weak this conference is every single year, and Gonzaga is the only one showing anything to come out of it. And right now, there's only 2 other teams I'm looking at, maybe 3 other teams in this conference I'm looking at. One of them is the San Francisco Dons. Those guys are 13 right now. They continue to play great. They have just one slip up, and that matchup on January 6th, got to watch out for. WCC Championship preview. I'm calling it right here. St. Mary's at 12-3 and BYU at 11-3 might be the only squads I'm really looking at out of this conference this year. But even then, I'm not confident that this Gonzaga team is the same team that made it to the championship last year. I don't think they have the same level of intensity.
No, I don't think they do. They've lost the edge. They lost the eye of the tiger. They don't have it. They've lost it. They have to figure something out. I mean, they've got 3 months, but I don't know. I don't see
3 months
right now.
becomes one day really quickly in college basketball.
Yeah. And Alek, you're right. I mean, they just don't they're a good basketball team. It just doesn't feel like last year how strong they were with Kispert and Suggs and all the other guys they had. I know you lose guys and you have to replace them, but
you brought in the number 1 guy in the
and you bring in a guy like Chet, but it's just they're a different team than they were last year. And you're a different team every year in college sports, and especially in college basketball. But they just don't feel like they just played a different style of basketball last year. Like they moved the ball around. They played through Timmy. They had outside shooters like Suggs and Kispert. They don't have that anymore, and they still have guys from last year, but it's just not. They lost 2 of their big guys, and they're still finding a way to replace it. I think they can, but it's just right now they haven't found any answers to. I don't want to say they haven't found answers, but against 2 big teams they played, like you said, you can forgive one of them, but you got to be able to beat one of them. And for a team like Gonzaga that we look highly on and have in the tournament the last few years, so I still think they can find themselves. I don't really their conference. I don't really know if anybody else they could slip up on, but it's college basketball. Anything could happen.
Watch out for the Dons.
Yep.
The Dons.
Number 5 on our list. They've been slipping up a little bit. Games getting canceled, but it's Arizona. And, I mean, we've all really been high on this team this season. We all like what they're presenting. Just 11-1. So, I mean, they've done everything right. Strength of resume right now sits at 3rd in the nation. 68th strength of schedule. So that is one to watch out for as they enter into Pac-12 play here very soon. They have the 2 hardest games on their schedule just postponed against UCLA and USC in the next coming days. So next time we'll really see this team go up against a difficult opponent might be Colorado on the 13th. I don't have confidence Arizona State's going to be much of a problem. Utah could make them struggle a little bit, but this next month should be a fairly easy one for the Wildcats before once again they have UCLA and USC coming up on February 3rd and the 5th. But those are really the only 2 games I'm looking at for Arizona to potentially have a slip up in. I think this team is in a great spot right now to run the table of the Pac-12, and being led by Benedict Mathune, 18.3 points per game and 6.6 rebounds for a guard. This guy really doing it all for this team, 49.4% shooting. This entire squad has fantastic shooting. I mean, you look statistically, most of these guys are shooting at or around 50% throughout the season. So a very impressive start so far for Arizona. we do have the loss in there, but you're kind of willing to overlook that with what else they have going on. And they still remain one of the top scoring teams in college basketball this season at 89.5 points per game. The next highest team is 88.1. So I'm very high on this squad. I think they got a lot of talent.
Me too.
This is one of those teams you have to look at to finish out the season if their defense improves. They need to improve in that department.
You talk about Benedict Mathern, man. This guy is sweet, but I like this other guy, Christian Koloko. This guy is sweet. 3.3 blocks. He has the most steal average on the team. This guy is cool to watch too, Christian Koloko. That guy is sweet. I like him as well. And, I like the other guy. I can't really pronounce his name. I'm going to try it. Azulis Tubelis? I forget. I don't know. Sounds good to me. He's right under Mathern, he's right under Benedict, 15.3 points per game.
Yeah, man, I think I give you a pretty close one, Azula Tubelis.
Yeah. He can rebound to 6.5 rebounds. All right.
Nice attempt.
I don't know. I don't think I would have done it any differently.
I probably wouldn't have either, but I probably wouldn't even have tried it. But no, with this Arizona team, I told you guys when I watched that Illinois game, that's kind of when I started to buy into them because they found a way to close it out in a tough environment in Illinois on the road. And ever since then, they haven't played anybody to the caliber. I mean, Tennessee they lost to, but they haven't really fell apart since then. And if they can keep that rolling, Alex, like you said, till that February 3rd matchup against UCLA, because it looks like they can run the table till then with that postponement against USC. This Arizona team, I keep saying this about all of these teams in the top 10, but they're a team that caught my eye, and if they can keep it going, they're another dangerous team.
Yeah, I mean, our top 10 is pretty solidified with exception to who's coming in here at the very end of it. So now that we're getting up here into this top 8 teams, really, we all pretty much believe these are the 8 teams that we're going to see in the top 10 come March because none of these teams have shown a ton of weaknesses. Maybe Gonzaga is the one question mark, but with their strength of schedule being so easy, you kind of have confidence they're going to be there. Teams like USC and Iowa State are the ones you got to watch out for, and we don't know what's going to happen here with Alabama, but let's go up to our top 4 teams here. Essentially the strongest set of teams we have, starting off with UCLA, the opponent to Arizona in the Pac-12, it seems, this year, along with USC. This team has been right up there with the best of them all season. I mean, just like we're saying with every other team, this UCLA squad, 13th best strength of resume, 52nd in strength of schedule. That's pretty high for a team who isn't just loading up against, top 25 opponents, because right now the team with the highest strength of schedule record right now in college basketball is Prairie View A&M, and they're 0-10. So I don't think anybody really getting up there into the top 20 besides Villanova, it seems, is really doing great this season. So, we'll see how that ends up. But, I mean, you just have to look at this UCLA team. They are once again one of the top squads, and that only loss has come to Gonzaga when they were number 1. It was a bad loss, yes. But since then, they beat Colorado, which was a good win, and they did both of those by double digits. It's not really their fault. They've had 5 of their last 6 games postponed. I don't see a lot of hard games coming up for them, though. I think Arizona on the 3rd is going to be their next toughest matchup, and then they'll have USC on February 12th as well. So it's going to be a while. It's going to be another month as well for this UCLA team to find a way to run the table, create some momentum to go into those big matchups against Arizona and USC in February. And February is where the Pac-12, we're going to find out what they're really made of.
Yeah, and even these games coming up until that Arizona game, they still – I'm not banking on this stuff to happen, but can I potentially see an Oregon loss? Maybe. Can I potentially see a Colorado loss? That's probably their toughest team in that span, possibly. But it looks on paper that way. Both them, Arizona and UCLA, can run the table until they play each other on the 3rd. But as I keep saying, anything could happen with these teams.
Well, number 3 on the list. Into the Big Ten we go. Purdue, the Boilermakers. They had one slip up, and they've pretty much been doing exactly what we thought they were going to do this entire season. Though the Rutgers loss, that was really kind of what we expected, right? This team, you knew when they entered Big Ten play, somebody was going to catch them off guard. It just so happened to be Rutgers, and it was an early season Big Ten matchup, so kind of something you can maybe overlook. But that Rutgers team, they're only 5-5. It was a lucky game for them. They just had the matchups, and since then, you've seen this Purdue team really start going off. A 10-point win against NC State, and then in your 30-point win against Butler was huge for them, and then a 20-point win against Incarnate Ward. This team has really put something together here in the late stages of this 2021. And to start out the year, they got Wisconsin, Penn State, and Michigan to start off the year. And obviously, Penn State's only 5-5 right now. Michigan 7-4. But that Wisconsin team, they're ranked right now, and they're 9-2 overall. That's one you got to watch out for to start out the season. But after that, the road does loosen up for Purdue for a while until they take on Ohio State later in the year on January 30th. So right now, this team led by Jaden Ivey and Zach Edey, they're in a great position to run through this next month.
Yes, they are indeed. And this might just be me, but before this past year, I have never heard of Incarnate Ward at all. Then YSU plays them. Then I see him popping up playing, big basketball.
They're playing
teams.
everybody.
And I'm like, where'd this team come from? I've never heard of this team ever. And now they're popping up everywhere.
I noticed that too, Matt.
Yeah. I'm like,
there's a couple other teams.
From? Where did they come from, man? But
I think they're in Texas.
I have no idea.
I have no idea. Have you guys ever heard of them before this year?
Had not. No. And dude, if you actually go onto their Wikipedia page, there's like nothing on their sports teams whatsoever. They have multiple fencing championships. That is their claim to fame.
They seem like a fencing school.
Yeah. And they actually just accepted an invitation to join the WAC conference next season. So, yeah, I had never heard of this team until YSU played them, and now it seems they're popping up everywhere. So,
yeah.
Incarnate Ward, baby.
Incarnate Ward.
The next flag on the podcast.
Yeah,
there we go.
Well, coming in at number 2, our top team's pretty predictable here. Duke is our number 2 squad. Obviously, 11-1. They've been really running the table here. Started off the season with a huge win against Kentucky. Their only loss coming to my Ohio State Buckeyes. I love to see that.
Yeah.
Of course. Now you're drinking the coffee
my
cup.
Ohio State winning juice right there. But, this Duke team, they've been playing pretty great. And, you can't really say anything against them. I am concerned with the ACC, but Paolo Banchero, 17 points per game right now, 7.2 rebounds, shooting 48%, 82% from the free throw line and 33% from three. For a big guy, this guy does need to improve his outside shooting a little bit, but he's definitely more of an inside presence, and he's shown that. He's really lighting it up down there. And I think this team goes with him. If he starts to struggle, this team is going to struggle as well. I think they're very top-heavy in a very top-heavy conference. I don't have confidence that the ACC is really going to give the level of competition that we're used to seeing out of this conference, but Wake Forest is going to be that next team up. It looks like they're 11-1 right now, and January 12th, I'm concerned what we're going to get out of this Duke Blue Devil team going into an unranked matchup against an 11-1 Wake Forest team.
Yeah, and then even the game before that too, Alek, you got a Miami team that's 9-3. So I'm not getting my hopes too high because Notre Dame and Georgia Tech before those games, those should be wins for Duke. But again, you don't bank on it too much when you're looking at this, and some of these teams aren't playing to the level of Duke. But again,
wait till the North Carolina game.
Yeah, wait till those games. But NC State, I'm kind of looking at them.
February 5th. Wait till that game. That game's always fun to watch.
Games are always
fun. I'm not concerned about UNC this season. They don't seem to be that same team
They're
they have been
9-3.
in the past.
They're 9-3. They've had some bad losses. Everybody's trying to argue, they should be ranked. I'm like, no, I like them. I do. It's one of my favorite teams in basketball, but they're just not there yet. But this Duke North Carolina game is always exciting to watch. Even when they're both not ranked, it's still a good game to watch. I remember a couple of years ago, Alek and I were going making a Pizza Hut run and watching that game. It was like a buzzer beater game. Yeah. I forget who won, but it's always exciting.
I had my phone up on the dash. I'm like, Matt, what's going on? As I'm driving down to Pizza Hut to get I think we got like 24 chicken wings.
Yeah.
we may have gotten like 50 chicken wings, actually.
Yeah, we got a lot of wings. Yeah, it might have been 50. I think we got like a 50 pack of the garlic parm. We got like 30 each.
Oh, geez.
You can throw down wings like it's nothing. It's easy.
Oh, yeah. We ate.
Yeah, Matt couldn't finish this.
I think we ate them all.
I ate them all, yeah.
I think.
All right, number one on our list, Baylor. What more can you say? They're number one in the strength of resume right now. They're 12-0. They're undefeated. Their strength of schedule coming up is pretty poor, 156. So hypothetically, it should be an easy ride. But as we're talking, we really like this Big 12, and they got all those teams on their schedule, obviously, in the next, few months here. So you got to watch out for the same teams we've been talking about: Iowa State, West Virginia, TCU, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Texas Tech. All these teams are 1 or 2 loss teams, and then even Kansas State and Oklahoma State are only 3 or 4 loss squads. In any other conference, those teams are probably sitting pretty at around 4th or 5th. Instead, in the Big 12, they're sitting about 12th. So this is a very strong conference that Baylor is about to enter into for the rest of the season. And we saw them roll through last season. They're on 18 straight wins after the decimation of Northwestern State, 104-68. I mean, this team is the perfect storm right now. They have everything going for them. Their defense has obviously once again been leading them to victory, but their offense still ranks 11th right now in the nation. And I don't think you can really say anything bad about this squad right now for Baylor. They seem to have everything.
You can't say anything bad. They're good. They're
unanimous
right
number ones,
and
that's why we are so intrigued by this Iowa State matchup coming up, is because these teams feel like they're on a collision course, and whoever comes out of that one obviously is going to be number one for quite some time, because those are probably the 2 best teams we have right now.
Yeah, and even though with Baylor, like even the way they play on the court, you don't see much drop off of what they were last year. They play the same way. They play hard. They move the ball. They get after it on defense. That's why they're 12-0. That's why they're the best team in college basketball right now. And there hasn't been much drop off. They lost Davion Mitchell in the draft, and they're still playing the same way they did last year.
Yeah. Well, before we move on here in the show, we do want to take a brief moment of silence for the loss of John Madden yesterday. Died at 85 years old, an all-time great in broadcasting and coaching and everything he did for the NFL. So join us in a moment of silence for the loss of John Madden. All right, thank you. Well, let's continue on in the show after that one. College basketball, we'll stick it here. Just a little bit to go through, and then we'll continue to move it along. But got some good stuff coming up here. Clemson Tigers, in the wrong area.
Clemson.
West Virginia Mountaineers versus the Texas Longhorns. This one coming up January 1st. Texas currently number 17th overall. But both teams, they're on their great start. And this is exactly what we're looking for right now out of the Big 12. These big-time matchups, 11-1 West Virginia, 10-2 Texas. Texas is ranked, and they've been given a nearly 80% chance to win this game. And I just don't see that, man. I think this game is so neck and neck that neither one of these teams really has that much of an advantage. I like the last win for West Virginia. It was a 30-point win over our Youngstown State team, a team in Youngstown that was actually off to a pretty hot start to the season. I mean, they were up into the top of the Horizon League standings. They're still 7-4 and in third place right now in the Horizon League. But, that's a good win for Wake Forest. And Texas coming off a win against Incarnate Ward, 78-33. And
I just saw that. He scored 33.
Yeah, that's not great. But you've seen this defense for Texas, which is why they're so favored in this game, look phenomenal in these last 5 games. I mean, you look at it, they only allowed 64 points to Seton Hall. Seton Hall still came away with the win, but against Arkansas Pine Bluff, they allowed just 31 points. Stanford, they only allowed 53. AL State was a 20-point win, in which Al State only scored 48, and then obviously Incarnate Ward only with 33. This defense has been really good.
Scored 14.
Right under 50 points, but you've seen the same thing out of West Virginia in their last 5, 52, 59, 50, 53, and 51 for the Mountaineers. So both these teams, they're about neck and neck, in my opinion. And not to mention, West Virginia's on an 8-game winning streak. Texas is only on a 4-game win streak. So while the strength of schedule so far for Texas probably is why they're 10-2 compared to just 11-1. I think you got to give credit to this West Virginia team. I mean, they're being led by a guy averaging 20.9 points per game in Taz Sherman. So they have an elite level talent, and you don't see Texas having that same effect. Their top scorer is only getting 11.9 points per game in Timmy Allen. So they're going to have to find somebody else to go to throughout this season. It's so much more of a team effort when you see Texas play. They don't have that one guy that's taken over, and we do like that once you talk to March Madness. But regular season, you do kind of need that one guy to take over, and I don't know if Texas has that.
No, I don't think they do. But West Virginia, a loaded team. That one loss to that Marquette team. That Marquette team is scrappy, and they will upset you. I expect them to make some terror. But you talked about the big, I think yesterday or something like that, talked about the big UConn win. They beat UConn. Everybody's saying, UConn could be the champion at the end of the year. But yeah, and YSU hung in with this team for a half. YSU was only down by a point at halftime, I remember. But then, it's always that second half. They run out of steam, and the 5-star players take over, But
Right.
Texas, yeah, I don't think going off what you said, I don't think they have that one big guy. They have a team. I don't know if they're good as a team together. They don't have that one guy that can just kind of take off and do his own thing and take over when the other players aren't, playing up to par. I don't think they have that. West Virginia does. And they have great coaching. Huggy Bear, man. Huggy Bear. This dude's been doing it for years. He's been through, I don't know how long he's been there, but he's been there a long time, and he has led multiple teams to Sweet 16s, Final Fours, Elite Eights. He has seen it all. So he can put great teams together. He can, get players into fruition. He can develop their fundamentals more. I really like what he's doing with this team here, and they're going to be very exciting to watch here, especially in this next game coming up here.
Matt, I like West Virginia because of Huggins. I love Huggins.
Huggins is sweet. He's like awesome. My favorite coach. Besides Coach K for Duke, it's Huggins. Huggins.
It seems like his teams are always kind of overlooked a little bit. I mean, last year they had good players, and this year they have, like you said, they have a good team this year, and they have good players. But this game's kind of weird too because Texas averages more. Their leading assist guy has more assists, but it's probably because they move the ball more because they don't have as many. I don't want to say good players, but better. West Virginia has better, more solid guys around them, so they play more one-on-one. They move the ball, but they play more one-on-one because they have guys that could score. So, this is gonna be a good one. It's gonna be interesting to watch, and it's a good Big 12 matchup, Matt, because I keep talking about the Big 12. West Virginia's 11-1, and they're not ranked yet. That's how strong this conference is getting.
He's been there since 2007.
Well, let's go ahead and make picks then. Mike, why don't you start us off here? West Virginia versus Texas. Who do you got?
I got to go Mountaineers.
All right.
I'm right with him.
You're going West Virginia as well?
Heck yeah.
Well, I was going to go West Virginia. I really like this team, but it feels wrong for all of us to go against the ranked team.
Go with them. Texas stinks.
Even the Mountaineers, Matt. I'll go right along with you guys. I like this team. We've all been high on the Big 12, and you got to roll with the hottest hands right now in the conference. So we're going to stick in the Big 12 for our next game here. Baylor Bears, Iowa State, the game we've all been waiting for so long as this one does not get canceled. I mean, this is the one we want to see because, these two teams can play basketball with the best of them. Baylor right now averaging 83.8 points per game. Iowa State down at 73.1. I am concerned with the level of scoring that Iowa State's going to put out in this game, but their defense has been right up there, with the best of them all season. Baylor right now is 67.3% chance to win via ESPN BPI. I don't really know if I have a favorite to win this game. Right now, all the stats pointing me towards Baylor, but you never really know in college basketball.
No, you don't. No, you don't. I don't even want to pick this game because I don't know who's going to win.
Well, we have to, Matt.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to pick this one because it's the best game we have on. Everything else is getting canceled. This is what we have, Matt.
I know.
Hey, by the way, not to switch up the sports here, but my bowl games, I'm 12-9 in my pick 'em with my dad and some friends, so I'm doing pretty good in that.
That stinks.
After the last 2 months I've had
all my games,
picks
all
on this
our
show.
games got canceled. So
all right.
Just had to throw it in.
Baylor versus Iowa State. Somebody else.
I'm gonna go. All right. Both teams I think are evenly matched. Honestly, I know Iowa State's ranked at 8, but they're forming, okay? And this is the game where they're gonna come out and say, hey, everybody, we're close to number 1 too. We're top 4. We're there too. And that just might be enough edge to get them past this number 1 team. But I guess once you're on top, you're there and you have control. You know what? I know. Yeah. What they're on top, they figured out their way to get on top. I know we've had a bunch of number ones fall off and on, but Baylor just seems like the perfect number one right now. And I'm not saying they're going to be number one for the rest of the season. They might go up and down, but they have a strong hold. They've played tough teams. They have beaten tough teams. This is Iowa State's first real tough game, honestly. Okay, and I don't know how it's going to play out, but I'm going to go with the upset. I say Iowa State comes in here and takes it. I know you guys want to take Baylor, but I want to take Baylor too. I want to go. I want to pick the upset. I think the Cyclones could do it. If anybody can do it, it's Iowa State. For now.
Okay.
For now.
Mike?
This one's tough. Matt, I'm actually going to use your part of your argument to go with Baylor.
Yeah.
They're still. I'm not ruling it out, but they're number one. I don't. It's hard to pick somebody to beat them until they actually get beaten. So for that, and like I said, I still like the way they play. They play one of the best brands of basketball in college basketball. I'm going to stick with them for that. But not to say it can't happen, because I do like this Iowa State team, Matt.
Yeah,
it's
Mike,
tough.
I'm right there with you. I don't know what Iowa State has to overpower this Baylor team, and
neither do I.
I want to give the benefit of the doubt right now to Baylor because of what we talked about all season leading up to them becoming number one again, in which we all said this team should have been number one from the start. What were we thinking not giving this team the number one spot? And now here we are talking about them getting upset. It just, something about that doesn't feel right to me.
I know.
And we've been saying this is the best team all season long, 18-game winning streak right now. And everything seemingly is perfect for the Baylor Bears, and they don't seem to have any problems. And everything seems a little too perfect right now for Baylor. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Things are a little too
right.
perfect. And that's where Iowa State comes in. 12-0. Coming off of a terrible season last year. I mean, you look at Iowa State. They were one of the worst teams in college basketball last year, fire their head coach, and here they are now, completely turned things around, and they're going to come away on January 1st with an upset over the number one team in Baylor. Give me Iowa State, the Cyclones.
Alec, I was expecting you to pick them because how you've been talking them up, and you should be talking them up, but I wasn't.
I had to go with them.
I would have been surprised if you went the other way with this.
I'm not. It's
Matt, I got you there, didn't I?
I did, a little bit. Oh, a little.
All right. Well, another January 1st game, another top 25 matchup. The Nova Wildcats versus Seton Hall, the Pirates. I think this is another pretty great matchup, but we got to fly through these next ones here in college basketball because we got bowl games to get to as well in just about 20 minutes left here on the show today. So Nova versus Seton Hall. I like Seton Hall to win this game, actually.
Me too.
They're a much stronger team, and I have not been confident in what Nova has been presenting, despite the fact there's still 58% chance to win this via the BPI matchup predictor, but I just don't see it with this Nova team.
I don't see it either. I know Mike loves them, but I don't see it either. They've had some bad losses. I don't see them winning. I'm not picking them.
I'm picking them because I like them. That's the only reason.
Yeah, I know. I like them too. I like Jay Wright.
And Matt, like you said, they haven't had many, in games like this, they've lost them so far this year. But who's to say they can't get one?
Go win the whole tournament.
Huh?
What's real Nova just win the whole tournament? We've
Who
been
knows?
Talking bad about them.
Anything could happen. But again, I look for them to get a game like this.
At this point, they dominate the Big East. I mean, you could very well see them be a 1 seed by the end of this. I mean, it's still so early. You can't count them out.
I know.
I like this Big East a lot. I always have.
Well, Mike, you're taking Villanova here, 2 Setons and a Nova.
Yep.
All right, fair enough. Well, moving on, the team we've all been waiting for, the Providence Friars against the DePaul Blue Demons. Sounds like a joke to talk about, and somehow DePaul is actually favored to pull the upset over the now ranked 21 Providence Friars. But this Providence team, they are led by defense. They can't score, and that's why people are concerned about them. They've hardly hit over 70 points. They're averaging just 69.8 points per game. DePaul averaging 81 points per game. So it's been a defensive onslaught so far for this Providence team, and I have no idea what to think in this game.
Neither do I. And, they played Seton Hall on the 29th, and then they got this game on New Year's Day. But Providence, man, is sweet. We talked about them yesterday, Alek. The UConn win is sweet. I mean, I watched a little bit of that game. The only loss was to Virginia. And, I mean, they beat Wisconsin. I mean, they beat Texas Tech. I don't think Rhode Island is too bad of a team. They beat them. They've got some good wins on their resume, and they're just building it. And that Seton Hall game is going to be great to watch too. And, I mean, then they got, DePaul. I don't know how do they have DePaul win this game? Do they not know who Providence has
Have
beat?
they not heard?
Have they not heard about the Friars? I don't know. Then
I like this Providence team. And actually, I'm going to spoil my pick here. I'm going to take the Friars to win this game. I like Providence to win it. I think they're a stronger team.
Yeah.
Even the fact that DePaul can score the lights out and they're one of the top scoring teams in the nation, I just have more confidence that Providence is going to get it done defensively. And they don't even get it done defensively by swatting away shots. They're only averaging 3.9 points per game. Teams just can't score against them.
Defense wins, man.
I got Providence.
Yeah.
I got to go Providence too. But Matt, also, we'll see how they are tonight against Seton Hall. That's a 15 versus 25. But then in DePaul.
Well, Mike, who do you
again,
think will win,
wish
Providence or Seton Hall? Both Matt and I picked Providence yesterday.
Yeah, that's hard.
I know we got to pick it.
I'll roll with the defense then. I'll stick with Providence. I'll roll with the defense.
All right. Well,
that Providence Marquette game is gonna be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Some really good games on the schedule if they can win these out. I mean, we're in for some really darn good matchups. I got a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one more college basketball game to get into. Once again, we'll touch into Big Ten country here. The number 10 Michigan State Spartans at 10-2, 2-0 so far in conference play. On the second, they have the Northwestern Wildcats, who are 8-2. Northwestern actually the favorite to win this ball game right now, and I think it's just really calculated on what those stats are showing you with 79 points per game for Northwestern, 75.3 for Michigan State. But I really like the defense of both of these teams. And, I mean, in football and in basketball, it seems these two schools just love their defense, man. You just see what both these teams do. I mean, Northwestern allowing just 60 points per game, Michigan State allowing just 65 points per game. They're both shooting at the same. Only 2 rebounds are really separating them statistically, and 2 assists. 2 blocks in the favor of Michigan State and 2 steals, or 1.5 steals in the favor of Northwestern. So these two teams, they're about that close in my opinion. I mean, they are neck and neck with one another. And really, you just got to watch out for one guy with Northwestern. The son of our great Larry Nance, brother to Larry Nance Jr., from the high school of my rival of Revere. I saw this guy actually.
I can't believe they still have him. I feel like he's been there forever.
Yeah, Pete Nance has been there forever. He was a senior, I think, when I saw him at Revere High School a few years ago, and he's now a senior here. So, yeah, he's been here a while, but this is a huge guy to watch out for, Pete Nance. So, if Northwestern is going to make a run this year, it's with him fully developed. And, I mean, this guy has reached his heights. He's at 6'10", 225 pounds, 16.3 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 53.3% shooting with a 42% 3-point percentage as well. 2 blocks per game, 0.5 steals. This guy is a monster right now for Northwestern.
Yeah, and he is their guy. Yeah, he leads them in points and rebounds a game, like you just ran through. He is their leader in both those departments. And again, I remember him in the Big Ten tournament when it got canceled a couple years ago because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I thought he was kind of older then, and he's still there 2 years later. So he obviously is their guy. He's been there he's their longest tenure player.
He's been there
so
since 2018. He's been there since 2018. That's when I graduated high school.
Yep.
I'm old.
Well, one thing.
Me too, Matt.
It's Nance and Boo Buie. I mean, Boo Buie, 14.9 points per game as well for this team. He's their leading assister, and these two have made a really dominant duo. And I think just the one thing with Michigan State that we always see, they just feel a lot more even across the board. And you always seem to get that with these Michigan State teams. But with this game being in Illinois, I think I'm going to give this one to Northwestern. They got Nance, they got Bowie. I'm going to take the Wildcats to pull the upset here. I'm not confident in it, but I'm going with it.
I'm going with them too, man. I'm going with the Wildcats. Michigan State, they're good. My Loyola team almost beat them. Almost. It was like a buzzer beater dunk, and I was mad. But they're a good team. They're a steady team, but they can be caught off guard like they did against Loyola. They were caught off guard in that game, and they almost lost it. They should have lost it. And I think this is what's going to happen in this game. They're not going to take Pete Nance and Bowie too seriously, and they're going to come and bite them in the rear.
I was kind of tempted to pick them too, but I'm kind of the same way Alek was. Like, somebody's got to pick Michigan State. They are number 10, so I'll pick them. Yeah. I think they're bouncing back well from the down year they had last year.
Picking the upset.
So give me the Spartans.
Matt, you and I were rolling the upsets today. Mike's got a good chance to make a little bit of a comeback in the standings, but I've been playing with a pretty big lead right now, so I can take a few risks along the way.
Nova's kind of an upset.
They will be when they're
like 6 spots behind.
I would say it's an upset.
Yeah, so there. I picked one.
Okay.
All right, let's get into college football. Bowl games here. Our first one coming up today at 2:15. Maryland Terrapins versus the Virginia Tech Hokies. What?
Probably all get canceled before we talk about them. Does this one even cancel?
Yeah, probably. Yet? But at least we're talking about them the day of. So if they haven't been canceled yet, they probably won't. This is the Pinstripe Bowl. So Maryland at Virginia Tech here. Both teams 6-6. Obviously, Maryland not having that great of a season in conference. They went 3-6 in conference, and Virginia Tech, they went 4-4. They technically finished in third place of the ACC Coastal, but that just goes to show how bad the Coastal was this season in comparison to what the Atlantic showed us.
Virginia Tech, man, they were ranked in the earlier of the season. What happened? Yeah,
this is a very strong team.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Maryland, Tagovailoa, he showed some signs, but I don't know. Yeah, that's the perfect award for him. And I like this Virginia Tech team. They just got a new coach. Who they just hired? They hired a big name, didn't they? Yeah, they hired our defensive coordinator, didn't they, Mike?
Brent Pry, yeah.
Yeah. So they'll be pretty good next year, with Pry there. That guy builds defenses, so
guy knows how to get linebackers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So be on the lookout for this team next year. But yeah, Virginia Tech, they've been all right this year. I'm gonna roll with them here. I've seen Maryland play, and it's been a roller coaster, and the roller coaster is gonna fall off the tracks.
It's been up and down. And I picked on this coverall thing I'm doing. I picked Maryland. I don't know if I'm confident, Matt, because like you talked about, they've been up and down. But you got to pick some of these other ones to try to, bolster your record up a little bit. But Maryland can do it. They can score, Matt. We saw early in the year they hit a slump in the middle part, but I think they could score more than Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech was good at the beginning of the year, and they kind of fell apart. But I'm gonna roll with the Big Ten and go with Maryland.
I'm going Big Ten in this one. I like Maryland a little bit better. I've been high on this team for a few years now. I just like them. I have no reasoning for liking a team this bad, but there's something about them. They're always exciting to watch, and I think you're going to get an exciting matchup here. With
you like their helmet colors?
I do like their helmet colors. Yes, I like the flag on the helmet.
Yeah.
It's one of the few times I go, "Ooh, pretty colors. Give me that one." That's what I'm going with here. I don't have much of an analysis.
My dad's always like, that helmet's got too much going on, man.
That's what my dad says too.
I don't know. I love the Terrapins, so give me Maryland.
There we go.
Well, next game here on our list, the Clemson Tigers, ranked in the APs at 19th, 9-3 overall, and they're taking on the Iowa State Cyclones at 7-5. Defense right now for Clemson has given me that edge because I don't know what Iowa State's going to bring to the table. They have some strong players, but injuries have been a problem for them all season long. And you've really just seen Brock Purdy be another guy who's a roller coaster ride. And this game solely relies on what Breece Hall is doing and whether or not he will play in this game. And as of 19 hours ago, he is not. So no Breece Hall. You're relying on Brock Purdy to win this football game for you. I don't think you can rely on Brock Purdy to do much because he relies on Breece Hall running the football to be able to take the advantage and win this game. This one today at 5:45. I think the defense of Clemson right now, despite the fact their offense is pretty bad. I mean, they don't have a fantastic offense, but they have been finding more and more every week on the ground with Will Shipley and Kobe Pryor. So I think the way this team can run the football is going to tell the story, and they're going to be able to win because of that. Give me Clemson.
Yeah, I got to go Clemson too. They've had a couple of slip-ups earlier in the year, like the big upset to NC State. But they have bounced back, and I've kind of jumped on their wagon a little bit. I'm like, hey, they're still good. They still got one of the best coaches in Dabo Swinney, one of the best defensive coaches in Brent Venables, and they still put together a pretty decent team.
He is pretty good at calling defense.
Yeah, I don't like them. Let's put that on the table. I do not like these guys. I can't stand Brent Venables. I can't stand Dabo Swinney, but they are good, respectable coaches. And you have to show respect to that, I mean, I didn't like Stephen Curry early. I knew he was good, but I just didn't like him. But
Matt, Brent Venables will not be with Clemson.
He's not.
Brent Venables was hired as the new head coach of the Sooners.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah,
he's not with Clemson.
I forgot about. Oh, that's right. Oh,
yeah.
Well,
the coaching portal has been retained, so I've forgotten everything until you mentioned. I was like, wait a minute, didn't he get hired somewhere? And he did, yeah. He's the new head coach of the Sooners.
Oklahoma. He went to Norman.
Yep.
That's a good hire for them.
His opinion here.
What?
No, I got Clemson.
I got Clemson as well. But... All right. Well,
they started to catch fire at the end of the year.
At least he went to a team that I hate. So.
Matt. Let's finish this thing off. One more game. And speaking of Brent Venables, we still got to talk about him because his Oklahoma Sooners are taking on the Oregon Ducks. 10-3 Ducks, 10-3 Sooners. I got the Ducks winning this game. I'm not going to lie. Oklahoma has had so many transfers and opt-outs. I just don't have confidence in this team, and I don't think that we're going to see Kayvon Thibodeau for the Oregon Ducks, but I'm not sure that's going to matter because I think Oklahoma State has just lost so much more already. They have some good defensive players sticking around, but I don't think it's going to be enough to stop this Oregon team that is really dangerous. Their quarterback, AB, I mean, he obviously lit up Ohio State. He's been lighting up teams all season. I definitely think Oregon has everything needed to win this, despite the fact that they're also missing their head coach because he's out. He's down to Miami of Florida. So no Mario Cristobal and no Lincoln Riley for this game. But I still think Oregon's got what it takes.
We got Bob Stoops.
That's kind of cool to see him back, though.
Yeah, it is. Did you see his press conference? There he was talking about the tequila bath. He's like, yeah, I'll take a tequila bath. Like, what?
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's Youngstown boy. I mean, you got to go. I almost want to pick Oklahoma because Bob Stoops is there, but I got to go with Oregon here.
See, Matt, I kind of thought that too because Stoops is back, but you don't know how that's going to work. And like Alex said, they had some guys leave, some key guys leave. So I'm not really confident that much in Oregon after they finish the end of the year, but I think they're a better team in this matchup, so I'll go Ducks.
Keep in mind, 2 of their losses came against the same team.
Yeah.
Right. It was against Utah twice, and they got clobbered in those games. Yeah, Utah's really good, and they got me worried for this Rose Bowl coming up here very soon. But
Did you see the uniforms and the helmets?
I think Oregon was good. Yeah, those helmets for Utah were clean. Those were some nice uniforms.
Sweet. With the rose through the U. Oh, man. Those are
it's going to be
sweet. Yeah, and it's also been reported that Utah is pretty much going to be dominating the stadium right now in terms of ticket sales. So
Pac-12 country.
Ohio State returned a ton of their tickets. So it's in Pac-12 country. Utah ain't going to have to travel very far to get there. And to me, I mean, we'll get to Ohio State obviously at a future date. I just think that's one of those games that I think a lot of fans don't care about anymore because it seems to be playoff or bust right now for Buckeye fans. So
yeah,
I think they're overlooking it a little bit. And
they are. This is a good Rose Bowl
because of that.
I know we're going to talk about it again. I know we got to move on, but that's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it.
Chris Olave just opted out.
Yeah, Chris Olave opted out. Nicholas Petit-Frere and Garrett Wilson both opted out as well. Well, moving on here, NBA preview. We got to go quickly, boys. LA Lakers and the Memphis Grizzlies. LeBron has been on a tear recently, but it has not mattered. What are your guys' picks for this one, the Grizz or the Lakers?
I'm going Memphis.
Give me Grizz. I'm tired of this Lakers team.
Me too.
They're just not good. They're just not good right now.
They really aren't. And to me,
Next game.
I think they're getting some guys back potentially, but I'm going to take the Lakers in this one. They need the win, and they feel like they've been coming really close, and they just haven't been able to pull it off. I think they take this one here tonight. Final game to talk about here, the NHL. The game we were originally going to talk about got canceled again, so we had to make another last-minute change. We got the Nashville Predators and Matt's favorite, the Washington Capitals.
Predators.
Matt,
I knew Matt was going to go right away to the Predators.
Mike? And the Penguins got postponed again for something stupid. I don't know.
I'm glad NHL's back, though, at least for some games on. But
this will be our 5th game that has been canceled. We've won 7 in a row. Keep it. I don't know.
Mike, you take it here.
I'll go Capitals. I don't like him either, Matt, but I love Ovechkin.
That's a good pick right
there,
Mike.
That's the only guy. I don't like Ovechkin. I have respect for him. I have respect.
Everybody knows I pick with my scoring differentials. This is just another one of those games where I looked at that and I went, oh, well, that seems pretty clear cut because you've seen this team right now for Washington be on an absolute tear. 108 goals for, just 81 against. It's a differential of 27 going into this. And while the Predators have played good, their scoring differential is just sitting at 10 with 89 goals for and 79 goals against. They're a good team. They're really solid, but I don't think they can keep up with the Capital scoring. Give me Washington. So that is going to do it here for the Wednesday edition of the Casual Sports Podcast. I'm Alek. That's Matt Morrison and Mike Wolfgang over there. A full college football day tomorrow for the 30th. And then 31st, we're talking college football playoffs and a few more things, NFL previews. You know how the rest of the week goes.